Welcome to my channel here over at SubScribestar. I have a mailbox as well. Thank you to Keith for the camping axe. I did not have that, and believe it or not, I go camping quite a bit, and it's going to be very useful. So I see this guy, and I see a predator, a low-status male, which doesn't make sense to a lot of people because he's wealthy and he's got connections in the industry. But women see this guy, and they see those connections, and they see money and influence and ability for him to get them jobs in comics or Hollywood or whatnot, or at least to start the path of making connections. The thing is, disingenuous men like this with money are very dangerous in a way that a Henry Cavill isn't dangerous, or a Brad Pitt from back in my generation. So these Hollywood celebrity types, Hollywood seems to have an issue with, seem to have a Weinstein problem, and they're not so concerned about taking care of it or protecting the women and children in the industry, or even the good-looking men, because a lot of these predators will just go after like anything that moves. And I think Alyssa Milano came out with the Me Too movement like 5 years ago. And, good for her. She seems to be kind of a fluffer-headed, but every once in a while she, falls on something good. And that Me Too movement started getting traction. And what I think happened was there were probably thousands of these Neil types or Weinsteins. I don't want to say his last name because the algorithm picks it up when it does words to text. You can turn on speech to text and you see how it pronounces his last name. So these, I think a bunch of these guys probably saw this Me Too thing getting traction and probably ran to the bathroom and immediately got sick because they suspected karma was going to come calling. And, I wrote that and thought maybe I'm kind of projecting how I would feel if I knew that I had hurt someone and I was going to get called to the carpet for it. And it feels like projection because these people are sociopaths. I don't know if they have a conscience or if they ever feel bad about hurting people. To be accurate, they probably don't feel bad about hurting people, but they probably get scared about getting caught, which are two different things. There's a lot of people in Hollywood who are just sociopaths or borderline personality or something along that spectrum. They seem to enjoy hurting people. And, there's some rumors, when was it? Several years ago before YouTube really cracked down about blood drinking type of rituals going around in Hollywood. And some people got kind of out there about that, but good thing YouTube protected us from ourselves and got rid of all those channels, all the Isaac Cappy type of channels. So Hollywood tells you who they are, but it's what they say they are is kind of too crazy for people to believe. The whole Maria Abramovic blood sacrifice with, writing in blood on wall and having a naked woman laying in red dye and eating off her body. Most people find that symbolism pretty weird, but mostly just cringy Satanism, and we prefer a table and that the woman put some clothes on when dining. I mean, it's at least have some class and at least wear underwear. But Hollywood does a lot of drugs and they have extra money. And the thing is, they're always chasing the next experience, which is what something kind of really wealthy people have that most of us normal people, we don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And most of it is this kind of silly, sexy, cocaine-fueled LARPing. But I think there's also this darker underbelly of the Podesta and the Wiener and the Dershowitz. He went to Epstein's Island and got a massage, but he kept his underwear on. It's like, why would you tell that story? You really lack self-awareness. And, oh, thank God, Trump's going to make him the czar or minister of, probably bring back the Ministry of Truth from Nina Jankowicz. So you don't have to believe in Satan or Satanism, and I don't, but I accept that other people do believe in it, and they act in accord. Stanley Kubrick made Eyes Wide Shut. Fantastic movie, fantastic director. And it felt like that was a subtle warning, except it's just a movie. It's just too absurd. It's just, the movie would let you believe that the whole thing was a LARP, like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You could have taken that movie any way you wanted to. But it really does these, what was Alex Jones talking about Hillary Clinton? And he was talking about her being a vampire. And he said, well, you're trying to bring it down to earth. You go, well, spiritually, she is a vampire. A lot of these people are spiritual vampires feeding on the energy of children. So things have changed forever because of social media, because people can discuss what's going on now without the globalist politically correct filter, the political commissar looking over our shoulders, and people are leaving the mainstream media and mainstream social media. Everything that's in the mainstream, we're kind of starting to leave it behind. And like the thing with Hollywood is looking through for these stories, and there's the news is a little bit quiet because of the holidays. And even like for a month after Christmas, things are still a little bit quiet. But also because Hollywood is losing a little bit of steam, and it has to do with the Wu flu and probably with Trump coming in office, where there just doesn't seem to be as much energy behind big Hollywood projects anymore in a way that there was just 10 years ago. So Hollywood, the mainstream media feels too artificial. It feels too contrived. It's just too much obvious propaganda mixed with a lot of shiny objects, distractions, because they're not just movies, they're narratives. You know that Hollywood wants you to feel a certain way after the movie. And now with something like, if they want to gear up animosity towards Iran or something like that, where you're gonna see these themes in a movie, or if they want you to think one group over there is the good guys and one group is the bad guys, I'd be very suspicious and looking towards some Amazon streaming show or some Netflix streaming show that has some theme about needing to liberate women over there or something, some kind of emotional manipulation, or if they want to get young men back in the military, because the military has dropped off a cliff lately. You're going to see some kind of gung-ho jingoism type of patriotic movies. And I will say I don't think that's going to sell anymore, because like Top Gun in the original in the 80s, the demographics of the country was radically different. And when you have the more diversity you have, the less social cohesion you have. So I don't see that working, but it doesn't mean they're not going to try. So the thing is, they're not movies. Like a movie has to have some organic feel to it. These are narrative controls. There's no nuance where the viewer makes up their own mind. The idea would be shocking to the director. And there's so many movies over the past few years that show that disconnect. But the last Indiana Jones movie, Part 5, is a perfect example of this, because it was bringing back the same tired old trope of Germans bad, but people have kind of finally started to understand that, oh, wait, when you mean like Hugo Boss, you just mean people of European descent, don't you? And it's like, you kind of caught them in something. That's why that movie was a massive bomb. And besides, it's like there were 5 movies in that series. 3 out of the 5 movies are set in that same time period with the same bad guys. That's friggin' bizarre, and thank God that 5th one finally bombed. Anyway, so with this guy, everyone deserves due process. An accusation is just that. You still have to have hard evidence of him being some kind of Epstein or something. But in his worldview, the left wing believe all women and believe the victims and whatnot. Their rules are that you don't need due process, because the mere accusation is enough to get somebody fired, debanked, lose their job, get them put on a no-fly list, and become persona non grata in this digital world where your name is tied to all kinds of different identification online. So apparently, Neil, this guy, has admitted to being some kind of filthy degenerate who was cheating on his wife, and he was into BDSM, which it's kind of hard to express. This isn't the 90s. By now, people realize that the 90s were different, where this kind of would have been not laughed off, but it would have been, oh, well, let people do their own thing. That's consenting adults. Now we're kind of deep into this degeneracy enough to look at this and go, oh, that's how we got here. This mindless hedonism by these filthy vermin scumbags is by saying, oh, well, it's not hurting you. It's like, we live in a society of, it's burning and you're on the rooftop fiddling. It's like, well, what does it concern you? It's like, because we're all involved in this society, and you're seeing that, oh, they're sterilizing kids now. Oh, so maybe we do need to have some some rules and structure in a society, and you have to, like, yes, it's okay to judge people. It's okay to like I remember, who was that guy, Vic Mignogna, some kind of voice actor or something, and like the Comics Gate Phantom Menace side was kind of on his side, and kind of using him to sell, make super chat money and all this kind of stuff. But when you looked at him and the things he was involved with, kind of a scumbag. Maybe, I hope I'm not alone on that. And it was weird to see, like, not maybe scumbag's too strong. But he was not. It was not somebody I would want to support. Like, he deserves due process as well, and to be free from defamation. But like, not someone I would want to be cozy with, even if it would help the channel. The thing is, if all this Me Too stuff helps wipe out these Hollywood parasites, then that's just fan-freaking-tastic, because this is what they say they want. The other thing is, in analyzing this from a legal perspective, that's one thing, but analyzing it in the big picture is kind of something else. Because in one of these stories, one of the accusers, he's accused by like a dozen women, so is one of the babysitters was at his house when the wife was gone and the kid was gone, and he was there and she was there. It's like, yeah, okay. In a healthy society, that just shouldn't happen. Or some of the convention stories about some of these comic people who are also accused of all this kind of stuff is you have girls going up to a hotel room after drinking in the bar with everyone to go up there to drink and do drugs, and she blows him, but then she regrets it the next day. Well, you shouldn't be going into somebody's hotel room. You shouldn't be going into a strange man's hotel room. And that's not to say that anything that happens to you. No, you have the right to be not molested. But it's like two things are also simultaneously true. It's like, don't go up to a strange person's hotel room, especially if you've been drinking, especially at night. Like, they're like, people used to know this. And it's just like, oh, don't be sexist. Yeah, but we live in the real world. So ethically, if you assume women have agency, then you have to say, well, there are mistakes made on both sides. You can't just blame one side of this. So this kind of stuff happens all the time, but we have to pretend that women have agency. The problem is left-wing women don't have agency. They're just NPCs. So you were babysitting, and then you got naked in a hot tub in the backyard, and he allegedly sodomized you. I mean, okay, so why exactly did you get naked? Why were you at a house with a man, and the kid wasn't there that you were supposed to babysit, and the woman wasn't there? None of that makes sense. People try to pretend, that's not to blame her, I'm just saying, like, you know what I'm saying. People try to pretend that men and women are fungible. They're not. That's why people, when they have to have someone helping with the kids, you got what do they cover? Governors or something. It was an older woman who was, in her 40s and 50s or something, where she was not some young girl. So Neil Gaiman is definitely, it was like, what was that, Brady Bunch? And you had Alice, like, not the temptress. So Neil Gaiman is definitely a filthy parasite. No argument from me. And his career is going to take a hit for a few years, but probably for not as long as you think, because people have really short attention spans. And it sounds like these women kind of lack the common sense to recognize a predator. And I look at him, and he just pings the radar because he's ugly, and he's put in a position of wealth and power. Not to be rude, but the thing is, he's going to make up for a lot of lost time when he was younger and he looked like this and he wasn't popular with the ladies, where he comes into money as some kind of artist or something, as a writer, and then hooked up with Hollywood. And the problem is, ugly, wealthy people are extremely dangerous, but women don't seem to know this. If Weinstein was skinny and attractive, women would have gladly had sex with him. They would be bribing the front desk guy to get his hotel room number just to get up there. Anyway, Hollywood hated canceling Neil Gaiman, because he's kind of the perfect liberal douchebag, and Me Too caught Hollywood, Weinsteins and Gaimans and all these kind of people. It's like, well, it was 100% left-wing people in Hollywood. Who did you think it was gonna, like, Republicans are not producers and directors. They don't run Miramax. Who did you think it was gonna catch? And that's why it just dropped off the face of the earth. So, I mean, the summary of it is don't trust ugly, powerful men, and left wing women don't have agency. I mean, I'm sure you're not listening to this if you're a left wing woman. We could stop a lot of sexual assault if we taught women that physiogamy is real. Like you have Dan Snyder, that other guy, singer at Cartoon Network or something, and the rest of these guys are just hideously ugly. That should be the red flag. It's insane that people let their kids around them, and bringing your kids to Hollywood is like a sacrifice to Moloch, and you're getting some money out of it. And the other thing is, there's a shift happening now where pop culture is so heavy-handed in their propaganda, and people are not accepting it. The same with celebrities, which so far is resulting in kind of a paralysis of analysis, where the production of new intellectual properties is slowing down, and they're retelling old stories with redos and reboots and race swaps and gender swaps and that kind of thing from before movies were made, before they were these super woke, politically correct times. So they're kind of, I guess, grandfathering them in. And the thing is, they can't create new stories because political correct stories don't sell. And that's all they're interested in making. I don't think they could make an organic story. How evil blonde people are and the marginalized, depressed people of Bumfuckistan need to invade your country and enrich it with sodomy, which I guess would be just fine with the Neil Gaiman over here. So Hollywood under Trump is going to be a pleasure to watch because they're going to, I guess, probably continue to try to be the resistance to pick up where 2016 left off and virtue signal, but they're going to continue to lose money. So that's going to be a joy to watch. The next things are Assassin's Creed and the Daisy Ridley Star Wars, which, fingers crossed, they lose money. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next episode.